Hello everyone, welcome back to another daily Leetcode breakdown. Today we are looking at problem 799, Champagne Tower. This is a really fun problem, because it uses a physical simulation that we can easily visualize in our heads, but it requires a careful logical approach to translate into code. Let's pour a virtual glass and get started. So here is the setup. We have a tower of glasses stacked in a pyramid. The top row has 1 glass, the second row has 2, the third has 3, and so on, all the way down to the 100th row. Every single glass can hold exactly 1 cup of champagne. We pour a certain number of cups, let's call it poured, into the very top glass. The question is simple. After we pour everything, how full is a specific glass at a specific row and column? The core mechanic here is how the liquid flows. Each glass has a capacity of 1. If we pour more than 1 cup into a glass, it fills up, and the extra liquid, the overflow, spills over the sides. The problem states that this overflow is split evenly between the 2 glasses sitting directly underneath it. So half of the excess goes to the left child in the next row, and the other half goes to the right child in the next row. If those glasses also get overfilled, they spill into the next row, and so on. Let's walk through a simple example to visualize this. Suppose we pour 2 cups into the top glass. The top glass can only hold 1 cup, so it keeps 1, and overflows 1. That 1 cup of overflow is split equally. So 0.5 cups go to the bottom left glass, and 0.5 cups go to the bottom right glass. If our query asks for the glass at row 1, position 1, that's the bottom right glass, the answer is 0.5, it's half full. Just a quick heads up before we dive into the solution. We'll be using Python to explain the logic and the code, mainly because it's very readable. But if you code in Java, C++, or JavaScript, don't worry, I have full solutions for those languages waiting for you at the very end of the video. The official solution calls this simulation, and that's exactly what we're going to do. The intuition here is clever. Instead of trying to figure out the final state immediately, let's just simulate the pouring process row by row. We can create a grid to represent the tower. We start by putting all the champagne in the top glass. Then, we look at that glass. If it has more than 1 cup, we calculate the excess and add that amount to the 2 glasses in the row below it. Then we move to the next row and do the same thing, propagating the champagne downwards. Before we jump into the code, I want to quickly address why this channel looks and sounds the way it does. You can probably tell this is narrated by AI. I actually built this workflow for myself so I could generate clear, instant explanations the moment a daily problem drops. It helps me study faster, and I upload them here in case they help you too. Also, you'll notice there are no ads on this video and no sponsorships. That's a choice. I want this to be a distraction-free zone for us to just focus on the code. That same philosophy applies to the tools I build. I needed a way to track my daily coding streak, but everything else was paid or full of ads. So I built my daily to-do. It's completely free, it has 0 ads, and I don't make a cent from it. It's just the tool I use to ensure I show up every single day. If you want to use it too, the link is in the description. Now let's get back to the solution. Here is the full code for the simulation approach. This is actually the Java version from the editorial image, but the logic is identical across languages. We create a 2D array, initialize the top, and run nested loops. Let's break this down into smaller chunks to see exactly what's happening. First, we initialize our grid. The problem asks for up to the 100th row, so we make our grid slightly larger, 102 by 102, just to be safe and avoid any index out-of-bounds errors at the edges. We treat the value in each cell as the total amount of liquid reaching that glass. To start the simulation, we pour the entire poured amount into the very first cell at 0, 0. Next, we enter our loops. We only need to process up to our target row, so the outer loop runs from 0 to query row. The inner loop goes through each glass in the current row. For every glass, we calculate the excess, which we call Q. We take the total amount currently in the glass, subtract the 1 cup it keeps, and divide the remainder by 2. If Q is positive, meaning there was overflow, we add that amount to the glass directly below on the left, and the glass directly below on the right. Finally, we need to return the answer. But there's a catch. Our grid A has been tracking the total flow, so the glass at our target position might logically have 10 cups of liquid that flowed into it during the simulation. However, a physical glass can only hold 1 cup, so we return the minimum of 1 and whatever value is in our target glass. If it has less than 1, we return that amount. If it has more, we just return 1. Let's run a trace with 4 cups, targeting the middle glass of the third row. We start at 0, 0 with 4 cups. It keeps 1, so 3 are excess. We divide 3 by 2, giving us 1.5, so 1.5 flows to the next row's glasses. Now in row 1, the left glass has 1.5. It keeps 1, leaving 0.5 excess. Divide that by 2, and we send 0.25 to its children. The right glass in row 1 also has 1.5 and does the exact same thing. Now looking at the target row, row 2. The middle glass at position 1 is special because it sits between the 2 glasses above it. It receives 0.25 from its left parent and another 0.25 from its right parent. We add those together, and the total amount in that glass is 0.5. Since 0.5 is less than 1, that is our final answer. The glass is half full. We should consider some edge cases. What if we pour 1 billion cups? The number at the top will be huge, but our logic holds up fine. We just keep splitting the excess. The standard double precision float handles these values easily. What if we pour 0? Then our overflow calculation will be negative. Our if q is greater than 0 check will fail, and nothing will happen, which is correct. And if the champagne never reaches our target row, the value stays at 0, which is also the correct answer. Let's talk about performance. The time complexity is big O of r squared, where r is the row we are querying. This is because we visit every glass in a pyramid shape, up to that row. Since the problem limits the rows to 100, this is extremely fast, basically instant. In computational terms, since the input size is capped at a small constant number, we can even consider this big O of 1 constant time. The space complexity is also big O of r squared for the grid we created. Alright, that covers the logic and the walkthrough. As promised, here are the full solutions for Java, C++, and JavaScript. I won't be breaking these down line by line, since the logic is exactly the same as what we just discussed, so just pause the video on your language of choice to check it out. Here is the full solution in Java. Feel free to pause here if this is your preferred language. Next up, here is the C++ version. It uses a raw array for speed, but a vector of vectors would work too. Pause if you need it. And finally, here is the solution in JavaScript. So let's wrap it up. The key takeaway here is that sometimes the best solution is to just simulate the physical process directly. Instead of getting tangled in complex combinatorics or Pascal's triangle math, simply tracking the flow from parents to children gives us the answer cleanly and efficiently. Also, always check your constraints. Knowing we only had 100 rows made this simulation approach a safe bet. If you're looking for even more Leetcode problems beyond the daily challenge, I've started a second channel called Leetcode Unlocked. Check it out via the link in the description. Hope this breakdown helped. If it did, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. I upload these daily, so subscribe if you want to keep your streak alive. Also, I've put links to the tablet I use for planning solutions in the description if you're interested. Keep coding, and I'll catch you in the next one.